And so, ladies and gentlemen, the Ashes is over. Australia are 3-0 up, having only needed to draw this series. They've won it in 3 games. Hometown hero Alex Carey and Travis Head doing the business in South Australia, in Adelaide, in a game where England, for the first half of it, didn't really compete. They were nowhere near the races, and in the last 2 days or so, really, really did fight hard. They, you know, they started bowling a lot better. The batting showed a lot more application, and they did really, really well. But where they lost it was, firstly, they did well to limit Australia to 371. Alex Carey getting 106. And it was actually below par. Australia should have got 400, 450 in their first innings. And then England lost it when they were 180 for 6. It has been echoed by many, many people. And it was, apart maybe from Ollie Pope's shot, where he clips Nathan Lyon to mid wicket, third ball, they didn't do much wrong. It was just the nature of the Australian attack. Pat Cummins returns, he captains the side. There's no Steve Smith. We'll go through the lineups in just a moment and the actual scorecards. But that's where they lost it. It was just flat, just wicket after wicket. Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes fought so hard. You could see when Ben Stokes got out, he was furious. He played spectacularly well for his 82. Jofra Archer makes 51. But they were just gassed and allowed Australia, particularly Travis Head and Alex Carey, to get them fully into the driver's seat. So it didn't matter by the time day 4 came, when they picked up, that 6 for 30 or whatever it was, to set themselves 435 to win, a world record total, needing to be chased. And then they did all right. 170 odd for 3. They were going well. Harry Brook plays an interesting shot. A shot that causes lots of conversation was a reverse sweep against Nathan Lyon. He gets bowled around the legs. It was interesting because it was a productive shot, but it was a productive shot against Travis Head, who was bowling a bit. Nathan Lyon having been swept out of the attack a bit by Joe Root and Zach Crawley. Zach Crawley playing well for his 89. He gets out, opens the gate. Ben Stokes gets a magic delivery there, 200 for 6 at stumps. And with 4 wickets in hand and chasing 223, they made a real game of it. Will Jackson, Jamie Smith. Jamie Smith gets out playing a stupid shot, and the floodgates open once again. Australia win by 82 runs. Alex Carey, man of the match, 106, 72, and 6 catches, 5 in the first innings. Marnus Labuschagne pulling out some amazing catches. It was just everywhere. So let's have a look at the scorecard and go through it day by day. So Australia in the first innings, Usman Khawaja came in for Steve Smith, who suffered a bout of vertigo, something to do with his inner ear, vestibular or something. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was several days ago now. So he came in. That was a change made last minute, like on the day. Smith was there at the ground but told, you probably can't play today. Weird thing is, he probably could have played on like day 2 or day 3, but because he's not fit to start, it's a problem. Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon come in for Michael Nisa and Brendan Doggett. And you can see the scorecard. Head not making much in the first innings, neither did Weatherald, neither did Labuschagne. It was Khawaja and Carey that did very, very well. Cam Green getting a duck. Some questions now maybe starting to form about him, but we'll get to him in just a moment. Josh Inglis making a very good 32. Mitchell Starc once again contributing with the bat, making 54. As Australia got 371 and did really, really well. In terms of the bowling, it was 5 from Jofra Archer, who bowled superbly well. Unfortunately, wasn't well supported. You look, Brandon Carse going at 5.5, Josh Tongue going at 4, Will Jacks, who's meant to be your spinner, anchor at one end. Yes, he picks up 2 wickets. They were kind of gifted to him, but he goes at 5 and over. So they just were not able to build pressure. It was largely about Australia just handing them wickets in this first bit. And then we get onto the English batting. Zach Crawley gets 9. Ben Duckett gets 29. Gets a good ball from Nathan Lyon, to be fair. Ollie Pope with a silly dismissal on 3. Joe Root only getting the 19. Cummins again. Cummins takes his tally to 13 times in the match. This was wicket number 12, and he gets him in the second innings. Harry Brook made a superb 45 before, unfortunately, nicking off to a superb delivery from Cam Green. It was like in his first over. Superb bowling changed, and Ben Stokes fought really hard. 83 of 198. Like the lowest strike rate, basically, except Ollie Pope, who scored the 3, of anybody else in the top order. Him going at 40 wide, and it was a lot lower. He kind of found a good flow in the morning of day 3. Jofra Archer making 51, but no support. Like Harry Brook, yes, makes 45. No support. 286. To surrender such a large lead is a problem. A real, real problem. 3 wickets for Pat Cummins, 3 wickets for Scott Boland, who did a fantastic job in wrapping up the tail. 2 wickets for Nathan Lyon, 1 wicket for Cam Green, but it was an important wicket. Mitchell Starc actually the most ineffective. He's been all series. He just picks up the 1 wicket, but it was the big wicket of Ben Stokes. So that's all he was needed for. Australia playing with house money in the second innings only get 349. They were looking on for a lot more, but as I said again, playing with house money, Inglis, Cummins, Starc, Lyon, and Boland adding next to nothing. It was Travis Head's 170, a 40 from Usman Khawaja, giving himself some good contributions and trying to find a way into the lineup for the fourth test. And Alex Carey making 72, the two South Australians dominating the innings. Jofra Archer, like, not really able to bowl much. He was flat. Ben Stokes ends up bowling the 7 overs, but he didn't bowl the third day. He only came on in the fourth morning. He did start, bowled 7 overs, picked up a wicket, bowled very, very well, and that has been, for me, the big problem with England has been the fact that Ben Stokes has been their best bowler. And you don't mind it. You don't mind that he's got these very good bowling skills, but what are you picking the other 4 bowlers for if they're not going to be the best? That's their main job. With Ben Stokes, I think he's just flat. I think he's frustrated because, and he had a word with Jofra Archer during this match when they were trying to wrap up the Australian innings, where his bowlers haven't backed him up. He's set a field, but he's having to try and set fields for bad bowling because they're bowling short and wide. They're not bowling full. They're not bowling at the stumps. When you look at the Australians, relentless, line and length, metronomically, Scott Boland, Pat Cummins, there's barely any bad deliveries. There's no boundary balls that are being hit. England are serving up like 1 every over, 1 every 2 overs, and are unable to build any pressure. And so England set 435. Zach Crawley played superbly well for his 85 of 151. Really took the template that Stokes had laid out a little bit, and that Head had laid out a bit slower than what Head normally goes at. But at one stage he was like 6 of 30, Zach Crawley, and then he finds the rhythm. Played very, very well. Gets a bit unlucky, gets drawn out of his crease. A very good stumping from Carey gets him, and that was at a big point in the game because he was going well. Duckett just won't leave the ball. Ollie Pope, another walking wicket. It was a superb catch from Marnus Labuschagne, and that goes against you when you're out of form. Root and Crawley were playing very well. Root then nicks one, trying to guide it to third man, and Brook comes in, plays 30 or 56. Didn't look settled, to be fair, and then gets bowled by Lyon, and that exposes the tail. Lyon then gets Stokes, and Lyon then gets Crawley. 3 wickets. Morning of day 5, Lyon gets a hammy, can't play. Jamie Smith going along superbly, 60 of 83, plays a stupid shot, gets out. Exposes the lower order. Will Jacks 47. Unlucky, a superb catch from Marnus Labuschagne against Starc. Starc then gets Archer caught in the deep, and then Josh Tongue nicks one for a fairly simple catch to Marnus off Scott Boland. 352 all out. A very impressive fourth innings total, but basically from day 2 they were playing catch-up, and it just was not to be. The bowling figures, 3 apiece for Starc, Cummins, and Lyon, 1 for Boland, none for Cam Green, none for Travis Head, who ended up turning his arm over for 15 overs, and none for Marnus Labuschagne, who bowled 1 over for 7. In terms of the ICC World Test Championship, you can see it there on the side here. Australia 6 out of 6, and let's not mince words, they won 5-0 in this series. They want to make it 8 out of 8 in the World Test Championship, but they want it to be 5-0. They want to win these Ashes 5-0. New Zealand, having just won against the West Indies, are now 2 out of 3. And South Africa are up there with 3 out of 4 in third place, as Australia still continue to dominate in Test matches. And, we go next to Melbourne. Has not begun yet. It is the Boxing Day Test match. It is 1:30 a.m. South African time. It starts, and there are a couple of questions that we can talk about now. A couple of things. Firstly, Pat Cummins has basically ruled himself out of the match. It looks like Nathan Lyon will be missing the rest of the series, so Australia either have to play four seamers or are bringing in another spinner. That could be Todd Murphy, that could be Matt Kuhneman, it could be Bo Webster to strengthen the batting order and just ask him to bowl some offies, and then you've got Travis and you've got Marnus there as well. Steve Smith will be looking to return as well, so where does that fit in? Does Josh Inglis perhaps miss out and you keep Kawaja in the middle order? Lots of questions. Does Kawaja go back to the top? You drop Travis Head down. How do you shuffle things around? Travis Head probably stays at the top of the order with Jake Weatherald, if I can pronounce all these cricketers' names. The real questions are for England. All of their 11 are fit, so they could bust out the same 11. I don't see the point. I think you're 3-0 down. You have to change things. Remember, you can't win the Ashes. There's World Test Championship points still available. There's bloody pride available. You make it 3-2. Make it look competitive in years to come when you're just looking at the scoreline. World Test Championship points available. You're fighting for your ideology. Some of you are fighting for your spots post this tour. In terms of England, Ollie Pope, probably his head's on the chopping block. He's probably done. And that means either Bethel coming in at 3 or Will Jacks. Now, England don't have another opener, but I would also be looking at Ben Duckett. Because while there's been lots of conversation about Ollie Pope, Ben Duckett hasn't scored many more runs than him. I think he's actually scored less than Ollie Pope. So what you could do, because I think he's done it before, you could open the batting with Will Jacks and have Bethel at 3, and that allows you to bring in Shoaib Bashir as your spinner, and you've got to look at your pace attack. I would bring in Matthew Potts. I think he deserves a run. He's kind of more similar to what Australia have done. He's going to bowl that line and length. Hopefully, hit the top of off. Hit the top of off stump, not the top of the batsman's head. Hit the top of off stump. Matthew Potts comes in. Gus Atkinson missed out in this test match. He could come in. Jofra Archer, does he continue to play? Brydon Carse, do they continue to play? They've now played 3 test matches. Carse has been... he hasn't been great with the ball, but he's their leading wicket taker, which I think says a lot about how ineffective Jofra Archer has been. Yes, he took 5 in the first innings of this match, but largely he's not taking many wickets, and his paces are down. He's burnt out a little bit. Remember, he's coming off some injuries, so I would drop him just for one match. You can bring him back in Sydney, and you could go with an attack that's Atkinson, Carse, and Potts, or something like that. Atkinson gives you some pace. Potts is not quite as quick, but he'll hit that line and length. You've got Bashir in. And I don't think Josh Tongue did too much wrong here. He can't bat as well as Jofra. But as England, you've got to ask yourself a question. The reason you've played Will Jacks is because the spin difference between him and Bashir allegedly is not too much, and you've played Jacks for the batting. Why are you worried about your batting at number 8? Australia aren't. They were happy to have Mitchell Starc at number 8. Yes, he scored a lot of runs with the bat, which is kind of an indictment on the England batting and the England bowling. But Australia were happy with that. And you've got to ask yourself, are we not trusting our top 7 enough that we have to play the extra batsman at number 8 and forego the spinner and the bowling? Just bring in Bashir, bite the bullet, have Atkinson at 8, have, Carse at 9, and then you've got Potts and Bashir, and just say we're going to back our top 7. The top 7 need to do their jobs. If we're relying on the bowlers to score runs, it is a huge problem with the batting. England have got more questions to answer. Australia, it's just about personnel. If Pat Cummins misses out, Jai Richardson could come in. They've, of course, still got Brendan Doggett and Michael Nisa who've been bowling. So Australia gets to play with house money for the rest of the series. They won 5-0. And they're not going to stop. They're going to be relentless. England have had their moments, but they've got questions to answer, and they've really got to fight back.